What would you say was your funniest behind-the-scenes moment?
There was a moment in which we all started dancing right after James said action. And we were working with so many background actors that day, and they also started dancing. So I hope that makes it into the DVD. That was fun because you have a little moment of like, a little break, and then you go back into it. I don't know. We had a couple of moments when your guns wouldn't work, or the jump, you couldn't make that jump, or you didn't understand what the actor was saying, or it was just funny. Or somebody would have green on them. Everybody at some point had green on them. I don't know how. And I'm not a touchy person, but for some reason, like Chris would end up with green on his neck. Like Drax would have green on his shoulders. Like, Zoe, are you I'm like, I'm not touching anybody. But they would sit on my chair and they would get green, and then I would get blamed for it.
Oh, probably, just fighting with Zoe, because we were both so mean and screaming at each other when we were fighting. And then as soon as they would shout cut, we would be like, we'd turn into two giggling little girls.
Some of the funniest stuff that, didn't make the final edit wasn't even with the immediate cast. We worked this one actor, and I can't think of his last name, but he plays Scarface prisoner. His name is Alexis. And he some of the stuff he did had us spitting. We were laughing so hard. But I think, my funnest moment, it's just too hard to pick one because it was day in and day out of shooting, like over months. But watching the interaction between Chris Pratt and Zoe Saldana was just hysterical. And on a lot of days, it just broke out into literally a song and dance routine where they just, either they picked a song that was like the song of the day that they were singing all day, or they just made up songs. Chris was real big on making up songs, and it was hysterical just to sit there, because I'm usually the quiet guy, and that's just my nature. But so I usually just sat there and watched these two very witty, intelligent, talented people just put on the show, and I just enjoyed it.
I saw earlier on, apparently he was a fan of country.
Yeah, yeah, and he made up a few songs and some of them were, pretty, were pretty rated R. That's what I mean by it. Sometimes he was just making up songs as he went. It was just hysterical.
So I would presume that you didn't have a lot of kind of time on set with a lot of the cast.
I didn't have any time on set.
Was there? So I'm asking everyone what their funniest behind-the-scenes moment was. Did you have any moments when you were in the booth where you were just like, "This is a bit insane"?
Well, when I walked into the booth, there was first of all, I wore jumping stilts into the booth, and everyone at Disney thought it was the craziest thing they'd ever seen. They had to adjust the mics in ways they had never had to do before. We were worried if the headphones would get high enough. So that was already a fun thing. But when I came into the ADR booth, there was a 50-page document there for me. I was like, is this for me? And what James Gunn had so brilliantly done was divide each page. On the left-hand side, it was all that I was restricted to, confined to the 3 monosyllabic words of I am Groot. On the right side of the page was sometimes a paragraph that described what a more savvy or somebody who could understand Groot's nuances of speech would understand what he was really saying. The irony of this character is he's not repeating. He's saying something different every single time. And yet, because of his hardened larynx and the condition of his physical makeup, to the novice ear, all you will hear is the repetition of I am Groot. That kind of complexity was something that both I and especially James Gunn wanted to infuse into the character. And because of that, we ended up saying it 1,000 different ways. And what was supposed to be one day of work turned into a delightful 1 week of work.